Despite a humble upbringing in rural Illinois, my father's example as a Christian father and provider were exceptional. His commitment and service to his family, God, community, and country totally defined him. A Bronze Star recipient in World War II, he returned to the farm when he was honorably discharged. Even when the crop's yield was less than expected, he still managed to give at least 10% of his time, talents, and gross earnings to the church. Also, when anyone was in need, he found ways to help them. Even on the day he died at 85, this active deacon was sitting in his recliner studying the Sunday school lesson that he was to teach the very next Sunday. For me as a kid, the concept of giving money to the church when there wasn't much to spread around was difficult for me to grasp. It wasn't until I married Linda at the age of 20 that I really confronted the true meaning of tithing or giving to the church. Giving was a part of her worship, but it was a struggle for me to make that leap. I agreed to tithe and teach a Sunday school class, but it was more out of submission and not commitment. However, over time, my heart changed. Giving and serving became a part of who I am. As with many of you that have endured economic hardships of past or current crises, you likely understand how faith helps guide you through some very difficult times. While we have had many financial challenges throughout our married life, our most challenging period was in 1988 through 1993. The savings and loan industry had crashed, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their jobs, me being one of them. Things got so bad that it became necessary for Linda, our two boys, and I to move in with my in-laws so that we would have a place to stay. Still, during this entire struggle, we remained faithful to tithe from Linda's salary as a teacher and whatever part-time jobs the boys and I could find. Another challenge was our oldest son was graduating from high school in 1992 with his heart set on attending Baylor University in the fall. He was awarded a 50% scholarship, but with what he had saved and with what little we had, there was only enough to get him through the fall semester of 92. Still, despite not having the funds, we strongly felt God leading us to send Jason to Waco anyway. For me, the most unforgettable thing that happened during this time was we had scraped together everything we had at the end of 92 to pay the remaining balance of Jason's 1993 spring tuition, room, and board, and we were still short. My next door neighbor owned a manufacturing plant. In December of 1992, he received an exceptionally large order that he couldn't fill. He had to add an extra shift for multiple weeks, requiring additional temporary help. He called and asked if Jason and I would possibly be interested in earning extra money. Of course, we accepted this offer. The interesting thing about it is, after getting paid for the work, writing our tithe check, and making a check out to Baylor University, we had 5 cents left in our checking account. This just totally blew my mind. And it wasn't because we deserved those jobs that they were offered to us. It was actually despite the circumstances we were in and the faithfulness that we had shown throughout this struggle. Additionally, in January of 1993, I was offered and accepted a job. Finally. Then, without down payment and only a vacant lot for collateral, we were able to build the home that we currently live in. That alone is a miracle in itself. While maybe not as dramatic as this example, this has happened to us our entire married life. God has always provided whatever we needed. Notice, I didn't say whatever we wanted. Now, Linda and I have become cheerful givers, like the Apostle Paul talks about in 2 Corinthians 9:7, that each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Actually, I have become a hilarious giver. While it's not important for anyone to know how much we give, it is paramount for people to know that we honor God by giving exactly the percentage of money, time, talents, and possessions we feel He leads us to give without holding anything back. You see, it all belongs to God. We're only stewards of what God has permitted us to have while on this earth. Last year, you and I, North Point Baptist Church, overwhelmingly voted to underwrite the Rebuild North Point effort in the amount of $343,000. This was to address several serious facility issues that funds were not available to address in previous years. To date, North Point members giving above their normal tithe amount have faithfully contributed just under $105,000 towards this effort. Also, this past October, you and I overwhelmingly approved a 2019 faith-based budget in the amount of $667,592. Greater than the 2018 budget, it would permit the employment of a full-time student music minister, plus support an increased effort to reach out into our communities and minister to our neighbors and grow God's church. However, there are few that volunteer for ministry efforts. Also, unless you and I seriously pray and ask God to reveal to us the exact amount He would have each of us give, our current weekly giving indicates that North Point will be significantly short of reaching the 2019 budget we committed to support. Remember, the widow who gave her last mite. Obedience to God and your relationship with Him is the most important thing, and by faith, serving and giving. If we will be obedient, I have no doubt that North Point will have ample members serving and will likely reach or exceed the 2019 budget. From personal experience, I know that you can never outgive God, but be blessed beyond measure.